In this video, I will show you how to write the equation of a line given various types of information. And here's what I like to do whenever they ask me to write the equation of a line. I make a chart like this one, where in the first column I find the slope m, and in the second column I find the y-intercept, which is b. And in the final column, I write the equation. All right, the equation is always of the form y is equal to something x plus something, where the first box is the slope and the second box is the y-intercept. So, line K is parallel to the line graphed here and goes through this point. Find the slope and equation of the line. Okay, so first of all, we need the slope. So they gave us a parallel line. So let's start by recording the slope of the parallel line. I'll call that m parallel. Now, this line has the slope that I will find using a few points. All right, I'm just picking points that fall right on the grid lines, like where the grid lines meet. As I go from point to point, rise and run, I'm going down to right 1, down to right 1. So the rise, more of a fall, is -2, and the run is +1. Okay, so when I say rise over run is -2 over 1, well, that is simply going to be -2. All right, that's the slope. That's the slope of this parallel line. So the question is, how does the slope of the parallel line compare to the slope of line K? Well, parallel lines have the same slope. So if a parallel line has a slope of -2, then the slope of line K is also going to be -2. So there's the slope. And so they asked us to write that down separately. Also, as far as writing the equation, the slope goes in the first box, so we're halfway done. Now, it's time to find the y-intercept b. Whenever I'm finding the y-intercept, I use the model y equals mx plus b, because the b is the thing that we're trying to find. All I have to do is substitute y, m, and x. Well, when they tell us that point P is on the line, they are giving us an x value and a y value. So I'm going to substitute these in for y and x. So that's why I'm going to put 5 equals, because of the y value. And then comes the slope m, which we just found to be -2. And then the x value is 4, and then plus b. So that gives me 5 is equal to -8 plus b. Adding 8 to both sides, that's going to give me 13 is equal to b. So that means the 13 goes in this box. So the equation is y equals -2x plus 13. Okay, let's move on to problem number 5. Okay, they gave us the equation of a perpendicular line and a point. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to make this chart. So I'm going to find slope m. I'm going to find the y-intercept b, and I'm going to write the equation. All right, you know the equation is always of the form y is equal to something x plus something, where the first box is the slope and the second box is the y-intercept. So they gave us a perpendicular line. So let's start by recording the slope of the perpendicular line, which I will call m perpendicular. So what is the slope of this line? All right, the slope of the line is right here. That's 3/5. Please notice that we will not use the -11 for any purpose. All we needed was the slope, which is 3/5. Now, the question is, how does the slope of a perpendicular line compare to the slope of our line? Well, when you have a perpendicular lines, their slopes are opposite and reciprocal. Okay, this is what happens when you're dealing with a perpendicular line. So let's start with reciprocal actually. The reciprocal of 3/5 is 5/3. Now what does opposite mean? Well, if one line is positive slope, then the other slope will be a negative slope. So the slope of line L that we're trying to write an equation for is negative 5/3. So let's go ahead and record that there as requested. And we now know the first box is negative 5/3. Okay, now it's time to find the y-intercept B. So whenever I'm finding the y-intercept, I think I use the model y equals mx plus b. And we are trying to find the b. We can use the point they gave us for an x value and a y value. So let's start with y equals. So the y value is 2, so we'll have 2 equals. Then comes the slope m, which is negative 5/3. And then comes the x value, which is negative 30, plus b. Now, I look at this and think a negative times negative is a positive, so I know this is going to be positive. 3 goes into 30 10 times. 10 times 5 is 50. So I know it's going to be positive 50. Now, if that sounded like nonsense to you and you don't see where I got the 50 from, then I would recommend using a calculator. So we can simply go negative 5/3 times negative 30. Positive 50. Okay, now subtract 50 from both sides, and that's going to give me negative 48. So B is equal to negative 48. All right, so here's the equation. So let's go ahead and write it down. Y equals negative 5/3 x minus 48. Notice I didn't write plus negative 48. Instead, you write minus 48. Okay, what's next? Write the equation of the line graphed here. Well, this is a vertical line, so I'm not going to need to make a chart or anything. Here's what you need to keep in the back of your mind. So when you have a horizontal line, okay, versus a vertical line. All right. First of all, a horizontal line looks like this. All right, that's what horizontal means. A vertical line looks like this. Okay. When you have a horizontal line, the slope is always 0. When you have a vertical line, the slope is always undefined. Okay, when you have a horizontal line, the equation is always y equals some number, like it might be y equals 5 or y equals negative 1. When you have a vertical line, the equation is always x equals some number, like x equals 3. Okay, so you have to memorize all this. Just all of this needs to be in your head. So when I see a vertical line, okay, then my brain goes, okay. Well, first of all, I look at this and I recognize it as a vertical line. So that triggers me to think, okay, a vertical line has a slope that's undefined, and the equation is always going to be x equals something. All right, so in this particular case, they're just asking me for the equation. So I know it's going to be x equals something. So it's just a matter of x equals what? What number? Well, this vertical line is over here at -3. So that tells me x equals -3. All right, that's it. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. Go ahead and click here in the red apple to watch the next video. Click in the green apple to subscribe, or click the yellow apple for the full playlist.